Who are these Jacksonville Jaguars? Coming off of a 38-10 dismantling of the Los Angeles Chargers in this Week 3 matchup. Trevor Lawrence looked very, very good. He looked like the prodigal child, the prodigal son that we expected to see. This defense had an incredible 2-turnover day, and James Robinson also had his first 100-yard rushing day on the season. I'm going to be breaking it all down right here, so be sure to keep it locked onto the Jags Fan Cave YouTube channel all season long, and I do appreciate you stopping by. But let's talk about that prodigal child, all right? Trevor Lawrence started off a little bit rough through the first drive. He had a couple overthrows, but after that, he was absolutely on fire, on the money. He was making the throws that needed to be made. In my preview video, I talked about how Trevor Lawrence just had to be accurate. He just had to be who we expect Trevor Lawrence to be, just an accurate, good, level-headed thrower of the football, and that was exactly what he was. Early in the game, he did have the one blemish where he almost had the interception from Derwin James, but after that, absolutely finished on fire. 28 of 30, almost a 70% completion percentage, threw for 262 yards and 3 scores. Now, Trevor Lawrence seems absolutely very, very comfortable playing behind this offensive line. 2 tackles have been playing very well, and arguably the 2 best offensive linemen that they have playing for him right now. Trevor Lawrence is going to look to an Eagles defense here in Week 4 that I'll get into as the week progresses. They've been incredibly stingy, allowing just over 210 passing yards per game. So he's going to look to them and really try to beat him down with some wide receivers that he's building some decent chemistry with. We talked about how Christian Kirk has been playing very well with Trevor Lawrence thus far. And now we look to Zay Jones, who had a very good day today. Led the league in not only receptions but targets as well. 11 targets with 10 receptions. Had a very, very good day overall. He caught 85 yards off of those 11 targets, and then also had the one score, one of 3 Trevor Lawrence touchdowns. The other 2 did come from Christian Kirk in the third quarter to kind of put the game on ice a little bit, really stretch that lead. And then finally, the Marvin Jones touchdown with about 5 minutes left to go in the game really just put the nails in the coffin, sent it on its way to the crematorium to be cremated, put that game away. The Jaguars won 38-10 out in LA. This game all game long just seemed like the Jaguar wideouts were in control. Yes, they were missing J.C. Jackson, but Asante Samuel Jr. for the Chargers really did step up in that first half, but it just kind of kept on moving and going and going and going, and eventually the talent and execution level from Asante Samuel Jr. just wasn't enough to keep up, and the Jaguars offense eventually did break through, getting Trevor Lawrence his 3 overall touchdowns. Now, Evan Ingram had a very weird day overall. Obviously he had the iffy incomplete touchdown. We're going to talk about big air quotes there, incomplete. I think he caught it. I just don't think there was enough conclusive evidence to overturn that play. But hey, we're not here to talk about bad stuff. We're here to talk about the good stuff from a 38-10 victory. He did have the lone catch in this contest. The 2-point conversion right after the Kirk catch was what, hey, I would like to see Evan Ingram more involved, but as a whole, he had should have been touchdown and then also a 2-point conversion. Would have been an incredible day if they had made the right calls, but unfortunately, it's the NFL. You got to live with what happens on that field and comes out of the referee's mouth. Now, for the running backs, their impact was absolutely felt in this game. You're talking about 6 targets between James Robinson and Travis Etienne. They split them 3 and 3, and they came down with all 6 of them. Only 46 yards on them, but at the end of the day, they made the plays that needed to be made all game long. Travis Etienne showed some very, very nice things in the screen game, and as a whole, he was expected to be the workhorse from this Jaguars running attack early throughout the season. James Robinson seems like he's way ahead of schedule from his Achilles surgery, but still, you're talking about a guy that really just snatched the reins, and James Robinson said, give me these. I'm the lead running back of this Jaguars team. You aren't. Suck it up, Buttercup. That was an incredible thing that I loved from James Robinson thus far. Like I mentioned earlier, he's coming off of his first 100-yard season for the Jaguars here in 2022, and a lot of it came from his 4th and 1 run where he took it to the house 50 yards on a 4th and 1 play. Is it just me, or is he getting faster? Did the Achilles surgery make him faster? Like how Tommy John can help pitchers throw faster and help them throw longer. Did Achilles surgery make James Robinson faster? Let me know down in the comments. Is it just me? Is he faster? But Etienne, he's been a good quality back for the Jaguars thus far, despite the limited success he has had in between the tackles as a whole. And while I do say that, he had some limited success, he was still a good overall rusher. He had a 75 total yard day, 30 on the ground, or 45 on the ground, 30 through the air. So as a whole, the Jaguar running backs did a very nice job on the ground, through the air, helping this offense move along. Now, for this offensive line, it played very, very well. Trevor Lawrence didn't get sacked the entire game. Yes, I've said that sacks are a quarterback stat, but still, you want to keep the pressure off of him. For the most part, that is what these two tackles did that I talked about already. Cam Robinson has been playing very, very well. And the Jawaan Taylor revenge tour continues. Jawaan Taylor has been playing out of his mind. This is not the Jawaan Taylor we've seen from years previous. The streak does unfortunately end, though, for Jawaan Taylor. He did allow a pressure in Week 3, and when you're playing up against Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, it's to be expected. You're going to get a pressure on you every once in a while, and unfortunately it did happen in this game. Now, Taylor did play very, very well, and Cam Robinson played very well, but the interior of the offensive line left some to be desired, mainly Luke Forner, who allowed 6 pressures, Ben Barch, who allowed 3 quarterback hits per PFF. You like to keep them upright a little bit more, but they were facing first-rounder Jerry Tillery, so there's a little bit to be expected there, that they are going up against equally talented, if not potentially more talented, opposition there for the Chargers defensive line. But Trevor Lawrence absolutely had a good game playing behind these guys. He seems very comfortable playing behind them. And James Robinson does not bust that 50-yard run if the Great Wall of Duval doesn't literally create a shield between him and the defensive line. James Robinson had an incredible day. He has 3 rushing touchdowns to show for it on the season. And I think a lot of that has to go to the fact that this offensive line has been run blocking very well as of late throughout the early portions of the game. Either way, I am very, very excited to see what Doug Peterson is building, because you can absolutely see the infrastructure getting built around this Jaguars team, that they can really, really be successful in the National Football League. But hey, speaking of building things, we are building this channel up. We're on the push to 1,000 subscribers, and here in the Fan Cave before the end of 2022, destroy the subscribe button, dance on it, do it for Patriotic Buzz. Where's he at? There he is. Do it for him. Don't do it for me. I would greatly appreciate it if you join the Fan Cave community by just dropping a nuke on that subscribe button. But let's talk about this run defense that was incredibly stout once again. Austin Eckler, who's someone who has had a lackluster start to his 2022 campaign, as he's averaged less than 3 yards per carry on the ground throughout the season. But those struggles continued with the Jaguars front seven. Austin Eckler went 4 rushes for 5 yards. The whole day, the Chargers offense went 12 rushes for 26 yards. That's good enough for a whopping 2-point-nothing yards per carry. So this run defense is absolutely incredible, and tackling the ball. And every time the ball carrier comes down, it's with gang tackling. It is not just an individual guy making the play. You talk about Tyson Campbell had the tackle for loss. Andre Sisco made a tackle for loss. Those guys still were there was a bunch of players around those guys. Yes, there was the one primary guy that brought the ball carrier down, but if he didn't, there were 4 other Jaguars there to ensure that they got brought down. I talked about in a previous video how much I wanted Dawuane Smoot to have a breakout game. We've seen Arden Key have his breakout moments. Josh Allen had his breakout moments in Week 2. Trayvon Walker had his breakout moment in Week 1. In Week 3, we saw Dawuane Smoot's breakout moment. He had the strip sack. He is just a menace on the interior for this game against the Los Angeles Chargers. And, I honestly feel like I'm in an episode of, Hip Hop Harry, the who's next, just because it's honestly like a who's next to be an impact player from this Jaguars defensive line. Who's going to be next week? Is going to be Foley Fatukasi, playing against Jason Kelsey. Who is it going to be? I don't know. I'm very, very excited, though, to see who it's going to be. Now, for this pass defense, they were also able to get after him, obviously. They did have some plays that got past the Jaguars defense as a whole, but overall, this pass rush was able to get some pressure on him. They were able to get some holding penalties called onto the Josh Allen, especially when Storm Norton, the backup left tackle for the Chargers, entered the game. They were really able to get a lot of penalties called on this Chargers offense. It's not only the secondary that's eaten back there. The linebackers are getting heavily involved. Foye Oluokun had a decent game again, making plays on the left and the right side, being super athletic. And then we obviously had the second week in a row. We've seen Devin Lloyd, the second first-round pick out of 2022, get an interception. That was an incredibly athletic play, and that is a house call if he doesn't trip. But unfortunately, he does. But if the season ended today, I don't see a way that he is not the Defensive Rookie of the Year. You're talking about a guy that is, I believe he's top 5 in pass breakups. He's leading rookies with interceptions. He's just an absolute menace back there. Devin Lloyd is. Justin Herbert had the great throw and catch to Mike Williams. Unfortunately, as as the game wore on. That was their lone touchdown of the game. And hey, when you're talking about a great talent like Justin Herbert and somebody that's an incredibly talented guy like Mike Williams, those plays are just going to happen. You got to learn to live with them. But as they look to the Philadelphia Eagles to close out the first quarter of the season above 500 at 3-1 potentially, and in sole possession of first place in the AFC South, a thing that they have not had, and it feels like forever. But this Jaguars team is one of the best in the National Football League, in my opinion. You're looking at a team that just put a whooping on a potential Super Bowl favorite. Yes, they were missing a lot of pieces, but still, when you look at the team as a whole, the depth is what wins Super Bowls. The talent's what gets you there. The depth is what wins it. They beat the brakes off the depth. They beat the brakes off of whatever the Indianapolis Colts had, a team that just beat the Kansas City Chiefs. There's a lot of talent on this team, and I think you were absolutely looking at one of at least the top 10 teams in the National Football League from a talent perspective, and you elevate it with the coaching from Doug Peterson and the rest of this crew. I'm very, very excited to see what the Jaguars bring up to Philadelphia to play the Eagles, which hopefully is a game that gets flexed into a primetime game. Obviously, I don't think they're bumping the Dolphins-Bengals, but still, I'd love to see that as a Sunday or potentially a Monday night game. It would be absolutely incredible to see. Let me know down in the comment section below, who was your most impactful player of the Jaguars' 38-10 victory over the Los Angeles Chargers out in the City of Angels. I'd love to have that discussion with you guys. Thank you guys again for watching. Stay safe and go Jaguars.
How about them Jags?
Come on, Joe! Ah! Thank you, baby! Thank you! You're making blood come from my damn mouth!
Duval!